Let's bring in Elias Sabo, CEO of Compass Diversified Holdings. It's also known as CODI. Their portfolio is incredibly diverse. They've got baby accessories brand Ergo Baby, Lugano diamonds. You can buy those for hundreds of thousands of dollars. They also do Prima Loft. They work with brands like Nike, Montclair, Lululemon. So they got a great view of what the consumer looks like. Elias, good to have you on with us. Hey, I just wanted to get an understanding from you about how you think about this portfolio, because as I mentioned, you play in so many different areas. I don't see a big commonality between, BOA, the sort of innovative shoelace for snowboarders and cyclists, and then the incredibly high-end diamonds that can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. What's the common thread that runs through these?
Thank you for having me on, Tim. The common thread that we have is our companies are all innovative and disruptive, and frankly, they align with our values. And so if you look at the companies that we own, we work with pretty much all consumer cohorts, from the wealthiest, as you said, with Lugano Diamonds, where our average ticket price is almost $500,000, to mass market shoppers where you may be buying little wax cubes to make your home smell better. What is common, as I said, among all of these companies is a dedication towards innovation. And what we're seeing is when you have on-trend products that are very innovative, the consumer tends to purchase those throughout cycles, and in good and bad economic times. Now, we happen to be in a time right now where the consumer is extremely strong, times feel very good, and we've had record results for the entire year, posting double-digit revenue growth and EBITDA growth.
Vani, something's expensive when you go to the website and you click on it and then the price says inquire. It doesn't actually
yes, inquire.
have the price.
I was completely distracted. I didn't hear a thing that Elias said after he said $500,000 worth of diamonds. Elias, that's
it's the average.
Really
it's the average.
Yes, the average. There is this idea, though, that we're now seeing some consumers be a little bit more choosy, right? So we're having the maybe people who earn $100,000 and more shop at Walmart, for example, which is not something we saw before. Are you seeing that across your brands? Because you do have a massive portfolio of the most expensive goods and, affordable goods.
We've been seeing that pretty much over the last few years. There's been a trend, especially with inflation, where consumers have had to make choices. Again, luckily, we have brands that are in the upper cohorts of income for our consumers. That consumer has generally stayed insulated, especially in the top decile or the top quartile where most of our products are sold. That consumer has stayed very insulated and stayed in its channel where it has been. We have seen, however, a lot of the middle cohorts moving down, and I think that's a function of inflation. Inflation has hit everybody. As we know, necessities really grew in price, and it pinched a lot of discretionary purchases. The way to offset that is to start being more conscious in your spending pattern and your shopping. So we have seen that. Fortunately, that's only on a small portion of our portfolio. The vast majority of it with the upper income consumer continues to shop in its normal channels.
Well, because some of those items would actually be inflation hedges. I'm thinking maybe even diamonds, right, Elias?
Correct. In fact, one of the things that Lugano has done so well is by taking so much margin out of the entire supply chain for the diamond and jewelry industry, we're able to convey value to our consumers, and our consumers actually look at this product as part of a luxury collectible rather than just an occasion-based jewelry purchase. By being able to do that, we're able to obviously create things like inflation hedges and for that consumer, and also growth in a functional asset. So it's a very disruptive model. It's redefining how the jewelry purchase and where it sits in one portfolio should be. And as a result, we do think it is a great inflation hedge, especially if you get tariffs and other inflationary inputs that come out of the new administration.
How are you thinking about lab-grown diamonds? because we're seeing a lot of pressure on the industry as a result of consumers, at least at certain levels, not necessarily caring where their diamond comes from, to the extent that we don't care if this is a naturally mined diamond or if this is one that's grown in a lab. I mean, look at the problems that Zales, for example, has faced. And I'm not by any means saying that, where the price point that you operate in is there, but are you seeing similar pressures at the higher end?
Tim, we're not seeing pressures. In fact, to the contrary, pricing is holding up. One of the things you have to understand with Lugano is I would relate it much more to an art purchase or a rare car purchase than I would to a traditional jewelry purchase. And you can get replicas of famous art pieces from Van Gogh or Renoir, but you would never have a incredibly wealthy purchaser who would want to buy that. Our stones that are the centerpieces of most of what we sell are very rare and exotic. It could be blue diamonds or pink diamonds. These constitute less than 1% of entire diamond supply in the world. And our buyers look for authenticity in that. So we are not seeing the same pressures that you're seeing through the moderate price traditional small white diamond market.
Yep.
That part of the market is seeing up to 50% price compression, and it's very hard to make up for that with volume.
I'm curious as to what your next acquisition targets are. We are, hearing time and again from bankers that, next year is going to be the year for M&A to really make a resurgence. And if that's the case, well, you'll be in the market probably, right? So where should we be expecting you to look?
Bonnie, we are always in the market. Unfortunately, over the last 2.5 years, it has been an incredibly weak M&A market. A lot has been made of the current administration and the FTC chair, who has been anti-M&A. That's for the larger transactions. Our transactions are typically in the $200 to $500 million range. And because they're platforms, they're typically not getting as much scrutiny. The problem has been with rates that have been rising and monetary policy, which has been tight, that it stifles M&A, especially in the universe where we are, where we compete with mostly private equity firms. So we are hearing the same thing. Bankers are telling us that M&A activity is picking up. There's going to be pitches. They're doing pitches right now in the first quarter, and second quarter should be demonstrably better. I would say in terms of what we're looking at, it goes back to what I started with. We look for innovative and disruptive businesses, but more importantly, businesses that align with our value set within the consumer, healthcare services, and industrial tech markets.
Well,
and we anticipate some of those companies coming to market.
Just really briefly, Elias, because we're out of time, but I'm curious, do you think Lina Khan will stay on? Will she be welcome under the new administration, given that JD Vance is pro-small business, apparently?
I couldn't imagine that in a million years. I think that this administration and Lina Khan's views are polar opposite.
All right. Thanks so much for joining us. Really do appreciate it. Elias Sabo, CEO of Compass Diversified Holdings.